Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what I honestly consider the ultimate key to unlocking massive savings on your homeownership journey. We're going to completely decode the often misunderstood world of principal versus interest. Picture this for a second. You finally get the keys to your new home. It's incredibly exciting, right? You make that first hefty mortgage payment, feeling like a true, responsible adult. And then, well, your mortgage statement arrives. You stare at it in absolute disbelief because your loan balance, it barely budged. You're sitting there asking yourself, wait, why didn't my loan balance drop? Look, if you felt this, you're not alone. It's a massive shock for almost every first-time buyer out there. Okay, so let's dive right into this because solving this financial mystery is literally one of the most important lessons in homeownership. Just imagine two homeowners with the exact same mortgage. One actually understands how principal and interest work, and over 10 years, they save thousands of dollars just by making a few strategic moves. The other homeowner, they remain totally in the dark and end up paying the absolute maximum to the bank. Knowledge alone here is a real game changer that can drastically reduce the total cost of your mortgage. Let's strip away all the stuffy financial jargon and start with the absolute baseline of how your loan actually works. What exactly is principal? Well, put simply, principal is just the amount of money you borrow from your lender. That's it. It's the core of your debt, the actual chunk of cold hard cash the bank handed over so you could buy your house. To put that into perspective, consider a standard $400,000 home purchase. Now, if you put 20% down, which is $80,000, your actual loan is not $400,000. The remaining $320,000, that is your mortgage loan. That piece of the pie is your principal. Every single payment you make that shrinks this principal balance means you own a larger, tangible share of your home. And in the biz, we call that building equity. Right, so now let's define our second core variable, which is interest. Interest is just the cost of borrowing that money. You can think of it as the lender's fee. They're fronting you hundreds of thousands of dollars so you can buy a home today instead of 30 years from now, right? So interest is essentially the price you pay for that massive privilege. But here is the hidden drain on your wealth that you absolutely must understand. Interest is calculated using your remaining loan balance, meaning the larger your remaining balance, the higher the interest charge you pay every single month. This one simple fact directly sets up the whole mystery of why that very first mortgage payment feels so incredibly unrewarding.
So let's get into it. The mystery solved. Amortization.
This right here is the harsh reality that catches almost every first-time buyer off guard. Let's look at the logical steps. Step 1, on day 1 of a 30-year mortgage, your balance is at its absolute highest. Step 2, because that balance is so incredibly high, the interest charge calculated against it is also at its absolute peak. So, step 3, you make your payment, and that massive interest charge just devours almost the entire monthly amount, leaving you with the smallest possible principal reduction. And bingo, that's exactly why your balance didn't seem to drop. Now, this gradual shift over the life of your loan is a process known as amortization. At the very beginning of the loan, you have high interest and a really low principal reduction. But as you move near the middle, the payment becomes much more balanced between the two. And finally, near the end of the loan, there's very little interest being charged and mostly principal is being paid off. This is exactly why your loan balance starts falling much, much faster in those later years. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Okay, let's do a reality check. Let's compare a standard $300,000 loan at a 6% interest rate for 30 years. Your total monthly payment is locked in at approximately $1,799. But get this, for your very first payment, around $1,500 goes straight to the bank as interest, and a measly $299 actually reduces your principal. Crazy, right? But fast forward to the later years. The payment amount is still exactly $1,799, but the internal division has flipped completely upside down. More than $1,500 goes straight to your principal, and only a tiny sliver goes to interest. So how do we fix this? Taking back control. Here is how incredibly accessible the solution actually is. $100. Seriously, a lot of homeowners just don't realize that adding just an extra $100 per month, specifically directed towards your principal, can dramatically reduce the total interest you pay over the life of your loan. So, the crucial point is, what if you double it? What if you bump that extra principal payment to $200 a month? Well, that not only slashes your total interest paid, but it actively shortens the entire term of the loan. You are literally shaving years off your mortgage just by adding a small, consistent amount every month. It's huge. And here is the true compounding magic of making those extra payments. Future interest is calculated on a smaller balance. By accelerating the balance reduction today, you permanently destroy the interest charges that the bank was planning to hit you with tomorrow. Basically, less balance means less interest accumulates. It's that simple. I really want you to remember this rule. Small extra payments made early in the loan often produce the greatest long-term savings. Timing is absolutely everything here. Please do not wait until year 20 to start doing this. Attacking the principal when your balance is at its highest, which is right at the very beginning of your loan, yields the absolute most massive financial rewards.
Let's quickly touch on common beginner mistakes.
All right, here are the major pitfalls you really need to avoid. First, thinking every payment mostly reduces the loan balance. Well, we now know for sure that's definitely not true early on. Second, believing interest is calculated just once upfront rather than continuously on your remaining balance. Third, completely ignoring your amortization schedule. Fourth, never actually checking your statements to see how much principal you're paying off. And finally, waiting years to make extra principal payments. Look, these are incredibly easy traps to fall into, but as of today, you are fully equipped to avoid every single one of them. Let's bring it all together. Mastery and summary. Let's lock in these core lessons so you don't forget them. First, principal is simply the money you borrowed. Second, interest is the cost of borrowing that money. Remember, early mortgage payments mostly pay interest. Amortization is just that gradual shift where more of your payment eventually attacks the principal over time. And finally, extra principal payments, especially the ones made early on, equal massive savings and a much faster path to owning your home free and clear. Understanding these fundamentals helps you see exactly where your hard-earned money goes every single month. You now hold the power to completely change the math in your favor. So I'll leave you with this final thought. With this new mastery of principal and interest, how much faster will you build equity with your next mortgage payment?